learn to see beyond all the love shown. The bulk of it don't tend to come in form of acknowledgement. Look close enough.
Hello, everyone, and welcome into the Mouthing Off podcast. Today, we're on Wednesday here. This will be coming out tomorrow or Friday, just depending upon how quickly we can get it edited up. This is a really special episode to me because it is episode 15, which number 15 has meant a lot to me over the course of my career. And I wanted to just kind of dive into a little bit of an experiment or, I don't really know how to describe it, I guess exercise that I tried last week, because one of the things that I've struggled with over the course of my journey is my positive self-talk and self-worth. We have between 60 to 80,000 thoughts per day, right? So that is a whole lot of thinking. That's a whole lot of different things that are going on based off of what you're consuming, what you are thinking, your mindset, positive, negative, all of that stuff can have a major impact on how you're manifesting things throughout the course of your life. So the more obviously out of those 60 to 80,000 that are positive thoughts, the more opportunity that you have to manifest the things that you want to happen to you. One of the things that I realized when I started going to therapy was that I actually was doing the exact opposite of that. I was basically negatively manifesting things into my life in order to create chaos because I wasn't okay. I didn't love myself, and I didn't know how to be comfortable in a situation where there was a lot of just normalcy, right? Like I felt like there always had to be something wrong. Like I needed an internal struggle in order to counteract my ability to just exist and enjoy where I was and what I was doing and who I was with. Whether that be personally, emotionally, relationally, any of those things were a huge variables, and I was causing me to struggle severely through a lot of my years once I got into the corporate world. Now, last week, I asked a number of people to pick 10 words they would use to describe myself. Each person was extremely cordial when I was asking them the words that they chose, as well as got back to me. I text messaged about 30 to 35 people personally, and for everyone who was able to respond, thank you so much. Your words mean, I can't tell you how much it has been as far as a positive light in my life. As I just mentioned, one of my struggles throughout the time that I was going to therapy was my negative self-talk. And it was all self-created because then I asked these 30 people who, in this experiment, I wanted to learn a number of things, see what others thought of me. I wanted to focus on how stark of a contrast these descriptive words and how somebody else portrays me in comparison to how I portray myself. And that's extremely important, is to be self-aware. Don't be too hard on yourself, but understand where your shortcomings are coming from. I don't know if that was a double negative. Either way, it's extremely important to know and understand what your self-talk is like. So yeah, it's been something that is certainly, something that I had to work on, and I'm still working on reprogramming my mind to have positive thoughts and to hold on to those and to manifest positivity and empower myself to become contagiously positive and enthusiastic throughout each day. And that all starts with right here. And here. What your heart and soul are telling you and what your mind's telling you. That's who you're going to become. And the better that you can be as a person to realize where you're missing that, if your shortcoming is, instead of trying to go out and seek it like I had done before in relationships. When I didn't feel whole and didn't love myself, I was seeking love from others, which is important to have people that love you in your life. But if you're not able to fill that hole yourself and not able to understand how important it is, if I wasn't able to truly start loving myself and get to the mindset where all of a sudden you are no longer seeking others to fulfill in yourself the emptiness, but you're looking at in that from within, great things start to happen. Relationships start to just happen for you. Good things start to happen. All these things, this positive snowball effect that can create just an amazing life for yourself just by the way that you think each day, just by the fact that you're telling yourself positive things, you're using positive affirmation in order to create the life that you want. It doesn't mean that it's not going to come with some work. That just means that you have an opportunity to change the outcome by changing the way you think. And that's really powerful. Just take a second about that. Think about all of the things that you think you're incapable of doing. You're not, I always used to say to myself, I'm not a morning person. Or I used to tell myself, I couldn't do yoga. I'm not flexible enough. I can't meditate, sit down and think of nothing. Those three stigmas were all self-created. I created it up here because for one reason or another, I didn't believe that I needed those things, or I was incapable of doing them because of my own limiting beliefs. And now we come out and find out in this video and in this podcast how much internal dialogue is so much self-created that it's scary, because you realize how often you're putting yourself down as opposed to what other people think of you. And, one of the biggest things that, the discovery that I had was how many good people are out there, and how many people think you're a good person, or you're courageous, or you're enthusiastic, or that you're handsome, or that you're smart, or that you're an adventurous person, that you're caring, that you're kind. And all of those things are amazing things. Why don't we tell ourselves that more often? It's not being egotistical or conceited or overconfident when we're just telling ourselves those things in order to know that that's going to create the positive environment that we have in order to succeed in our lives. And that's something that I still work on a daily basis. So doing this exercise really amplified and was able to illuminate some of the things that I had been going through. Out of the 30 people I asked in the exercise, there was friends that I've been friends with forever, family members, ex-girlfriends, co-workers, coaches, podcast guests, and neighbors. Many individuals filled more than one role. So they could be a friend and a neighbor. They could have been a coach and a friend, an ex, and now, we still keep up with each other. So acquaintances, co-workers that are friends, family members that are friends, all of those type of things. And anyway, my findings were that only 5 words out of, I think it was ended up being about 23 people that responded with the 10 words. Some wrote even more than 10 words. So 5 out of 230 words, let's say, 230 to 240 words, 5 could have been, conceived or understood as negative. And really, 3 of them were only the majority negative, and then 2 were kind of subjective, depending upon your perspective of the word and also the use of it in the context. So, one of the major issues we face today is outrage culture, or people losing perspective on things, like seeing everybody crushing it on Instagram. I was famous for this. When I first started and moved to Arizona in the corporate world, I was golfing every weekend. I was going out on weeknights, or, going to parties, going to the waste management. And the only time I was posting photos or information about my life was when I was doing something fun, when I was golfing, when I was, going on a beautiful hike, when I was on vacation, when I was going to a party. When that's, let's say, 20% of our lives. I mean, especially if you're working a corporate gig, maybe 30% if you're lucky. The rest of my life was hidden behind closed doors and wasn't doing well. It was an internal struggle that I had since retiring from baseball, and really taking no time to really sit with myself and understand what I wanted. What did I want out of life? And where did I want to go? Who did I want to surround myself with? You know, What were the things that I needed to work on? All of those are things that I should have been working on. Instead, I was too busy posting on Instagram to show you how great my Friday night was, or that I was going to the club and getting bottle service, or, waking up and playing a really expensive golf course, or, going on vacation and going to some beautiful golf courses in Florida, or going on a mountain bike road trip. All of those things are great and they're awesome that I've had an opportunity to do that. So I don't want to take away from that. But that being said, this outrage culture and this idea that that's my life is so far from the reality that it creates this alternate reality in our minds, which then in turn degrades or downgrades ourselves when we see somebody else just crushing it. It's a weird feeling when you're looking around and you're having that FOMO because everyone else is out and you're sitting home by yourself, or you're not doing as well financially as the person that just purchased another BMW or new car, or they're going on another vacation, they're in Cabo, they're in Colorado skiing, and then next month they're in Thailand. And we create this perception that what we see on social media or what people choose to put out is their full reality, when we know deep down that we're doing the same thing and it's not reality. The issue is we get stuck in the idea of what we're consuming consumes us. So if we were hanging out with those people all the time and we knew that that person that went to Thailand, that was the first vacation they had taken in a year and a half of more than like a long weekend, well, you would be less likely to be not jealous of them, but to be like, oh man, another vacation that he's going on. His life's great, or her life is just awesome. When does she work? When realistically, if you were hanging out with them all the time and you realize that they've been grinding 60 hours a week, and finally a year later they had enough PTO, or they scheduled this, amazing trip and they finally got to relax. And that's the 10% of their life that they're deciding to showcase to you. So it's just a faulty view, as well as the outrage culture. I mean, how many people are posting to Facebook, or on Twitter, going on rants, any other forum, YouTube, making videos about how bad, the country's in shape, the politics, the pandemic, the civil unrest, the social, all of the different movements going on, the rioting, the protesting, like all of these things. You listen to the news, you watch people post about them, and it's, both sides outraged at each other. How could you do this? And I can't believe that you would do that. How can you stand for this? And really that's the minority. That's the smallest group of people that's deciding that anything that they think of, or that they want to just be angry and make other people angry. I needed to change the way that my perception of the way that I viewed social media, as well as how I used it. Because as we've talked about, a nice little scratch of the nose here, as we've talked about, to Gabriella, to Matt Osman, to Wes Patterson, some of these people are utilizing social media and utilizing their brand and platform personally to do great things, to raise money for charity, to help their families, to travel the world, to help other people build their businesses. And there's so much positive that can come from social media and from, the different technologies that we have in place now that are doing wonderful things, that we need to celebrate them and utilize them for the right reasons. And that way we'll be able to make the most of these awesome things that are coming out here. This should be the most exciting, best time of our lives. We just need to frame it that way. We need to understand that consuming a bunch of meaningless content, or, losing sight of the true ideals of life, and not getting stuck or caught up in the perception or how we perceive things just from a far view, like a long lens, like be able to step into that, person's shoes, or step into that situation and further diagnose it before you lose it. And then also positively impact the world as well as yourself. The more work you do on yourself, the better off it's going to be, and the better off you're going to be for others. Another thing I found out about the 30 individuals, many of whom who've never met, and they all came to some wonderful conclusions. They all said absolutely excellent things about me, about what they would say to others, how they would describe me, and our opportunity as a nation, a country, and a world to move with empathy, humility, kindness, and caring nature will be far more prepared for a bright and excellent future than if we allow the perceived notion of outrage culture or of this person's perfect life, or losing track of what's really important in life, and that's to love yourself and love those around you and just continue to be a good person. That is my goal for 2020 and beyond, is to really continue to work on myself to a level that I know that the more that I love myself, the more that I appreciate me for everything that I am, the more that I can let go of my past indiscretions or the things that I've struggled with and accept that I am a work in progress and that's okay, the better off I'm going to be for myself, as well as I'm going to start attracting the things that I want in life. The more positive you are, the more positive content you consume, the more times you're going to be around positive, enthusiastic, genuine, amazing people. And that's what this podcast has really allowed me to do, is to show myself, like, look at all these people that are willing to come on the podcast, take time out of their day to, invest in doing a podcast, as well as to, promote it through their social media, promote it through word of mouth, and to, share their story and experience with me and with all of you. It's just an amazing platform just to showcase how awesome people are, and to not lose sight of the fact that there is overwhelmingly so many more great people in this world than there are evil and bad people. And that's what we should be focusing on, and making sure that we're the positive change in the world by being positively impacted ourselves inside you. That is going to be what brings us closer together, is that if we're all good with ourselves, if we all understand that hurt people, and taking the time to do the things that they did. One last thank you before I sign off here. All those people that I asked to write this message, write the 10 description words, like, they took time out of their day and were able to get back to me, most of them within that day, if not the next morning. They took time out of their day to give well thought out words and descriptions of what they thought I was all about. And how amazing is that, that I asked 30 random people in my life that, as I had mentioned, all the different relationships, and each one of them took the time out to invest into me. They didn't have to do that. They could have just said, hey, man, I'm really busy, or sorry, I'm not able to get to it, or they could have not responded at all. No, the overwhelming majority of those people not only went above and beyond, but they showed me how much positivity, purpose, and, speaking about people well will bring good things into the world, and how good of a person I am as long as I let myself be, as long as I don't tear myself down from the inside, and I use positive affirmation and positive self-talk and inner conversation to create the world that I want around me. That is what's going to bring us to that next step. That's what's going to create lasting change and purposeful things to happen, and move things that move the needle in the right direction. So I love each and every one of you that has taken the time to listen to the podcast. I hope you continue on, because it's an amazing platform to just provide inspiration, positivity, and continue to share these amazing stories of these extraordinary people, extraordinary people. And I am just so happy to be a part of your lives, and I'm really happy that everyone that is listening and consuming and following along to the podcast, that you're a part of my life. So thank you again. I love you all. This is the Mouth signing off. Episode 15. Don't forget it.
Including most standards. Yeah. Outstanding. Not in line for club entry. New religion through my genes, God sent me. Don't tempt me. I am liable to overcome you. They wouldn't last a lap on tracks I done run through. In my mirror screaming daily affirmations like I can do anything that I want to. I am the man, I got a plan. Eyes on the goal, mind on the means, the world in my hands. I am king, this ain't a dream. I'm really as litty as I appear. I am here, I won't fade. I can't die, I'm too on fire. Oh man, I'm just that guy, yeah. And I'm getting better by the hour. If this 24 a day, then you can calculate the rate. If this was really easy, why I